Welcome back to Scotty's Hobbies. There has been a ton of talk of California losing its smog rights or going to a state where there's going to be no more smog because of just so much stuff happening lately. I've been meaning to make a video on this. I've been having a ton of people send me videos and articles, just a ton of stuff about California not having smog anymore. And if you check out the channel, a lot of my videos are based on smog equipment. So will that affect me? Who knows? Will it affect the smog shops here in California? Who knows? But let me go over how I feel about all this. And real quick, there is two things real quick. There's a senator named Bernie Moreno, I believe it is. Let me double check. Yes, Bernie Moreno has came up with legislation, however you say it, that he is introducing to the U.S. Senate. So this is going to be a United States-wide law, supposedly, that's going to affect the Clean Air Act, take away the exemptions, or actually I shouldn't say exemptions, but take away the special interest that the California Clean Air Act has off of that. So pretty much California has a waiver off of the Clean Air Act that allows us here in California to make up our own smog laws. And then 17 other states, I believe it's 17 other, or maybe it's 17 including California, follow those smog laws. So there's a lot to take into this whole thing. Like, everyone's saying smog laws are over, you can go out and just do whatever you want to your car. Like, everyone's like hooraying, they're celebrating way too early. I think like, nothing's gonna be able to be changed, nothing, like, this is it, this is it. But let me give you my take on this. And first off, I was a smog tech for 18 years. I stopped smogging because it sucks enforcing rules and laws that I just don't believe in. When I first started smogging, I had a 95 Mustang that we bored out to a 347 stroker. But thankfully, before I did all the work to that, I smogged it into an area where we didn't need a biannual smog. So like up in Angels Camp, my uncle lived up there. My car was actually registered at that address. So all we did was we smogged it when it was bone stock to get it registered up in Angels Camp because to do the change of address, we had to do the smog check. After we did that initial smog check, no more smog. The downside was when, what was it, like 2018, somewhere around there, 2015, when I decided to sell that car, it couldn't pass smog to sell it because no matter where you're at in California, you have to have a smog to change ownership. So what I ended up doing was I had family in Georgia that ended up wanting that car, and I just sold it to them for a really good price and we trailered it out there. There's no smog out there. That car is still on the road. They're driving around out there. It's probably becoming a rust bucket by now, but I loved that car. Like I said, 347 stroker, transmission was built up. We did the rear seat delete. It was a beautiful car. I love that car. I built it from the ground up. The third day I had it, my dad was like, don't drive out of town. But I ended up going up to, what was it? I went to San Francisco with my girlfriend at the time. And that's before San Francisco was a complete like wasteland like it is now. It used to be a beautiful place. We used to take Bart over there and just hang out around San Francisco. There was bums back then. There was a Bush guy across the street from the Bush guy. The Bush guy would just like hide and he would like scare people. But right across the street, there was like a dice playing guy. He would hide a dice under a cup and move it around, and you'd bet to find the dice. We never knew how much like danger we were really in as kids in high school, but we used to go out there and we would play this dice game. And like, if you didn't tip the dealer, you were gonna get your ass kicked. Thank God that never happened to us because we were very forewarned to do so. But it was pretty fun. So, long story short, I crashed my Mustang on the way home that night. Third day I had my car. My girlfriend's face got busted up, her legs got busted up, airbags deployed. So what ended up, we replaced the front clip and I put it back to stock. After we did that, I was like, you know what? I want to build this car the way I want it. That's what introduced me to mechanics. I got so much into that thing. I was like, I want to build this into a hot rod. 95 5.0 Mustang, I think out of the box was like 185 horsepower, which sucks these days. You get a V6 with 185 horsepower these days. It's crazy. But needless to say, we got it all going, smogged it, registered in Angels Camp, did everything to it, drove it around forever. But that's one way to get around smog, just so you know. That was not affecting me, or the smog obviously wasn't affecting me, but I couldn't register it here in town, down in the valley, because I couldn't smog it. So it sucked knowing I had that car. I was driving that car around, and I'm enforcing rules that wouldn't allow this car to be driven in the same area that I'm driving the car in. But whole nother story. So that's my take on smog. Smog, I got into the smog game because I thought it was beneficial, pretty much tricked into everything. The smog program does really do a good job. It does clean up the air, but when you start looking into everything, the majority of pollutants in the air is actually caused from industrial pollution, more so than vehicle pollution, in my opinion. And if I'm wrong, comment below, talk to me about this. I am really ready to learn about everything. So back to the point at hand. This Senate bill was introduced by Bernie Moreno. It's going to make sure that there's no more waivers on the Clean Air Act. So that's going to make it that there's one federal blanket of rules for smogs. Will that be all 50 states are going to be held to a higher standard, or is it going to be all 50 states are going to be held to a lower standard than what's in California? Who really knows? But they got to come up with one standard that meets all 50 states. Now, my big gripe about this one is, so this guy released this press story and his copy of the bill that he is going to present into the Senate, who knows when, but it's not introduced yet. I've taken a look at, I think it was congress.gov. Let's see. Yeah, congress.gov. You could look up legislation that is in process, see where it's at. You could look at all that stuff. And this right here, maybe over here, one of the two, this is the actual bill that he's written up, and it goes through everything. It cuts back a ton of rules and regs. And supposedly with this act and CRs, I'm not sure what CRs are. If you know what a CR is, let me know. They say, nothing's going to be able to change ever. It's going to be like this forever. But I also looked into it, and it says, according to congress.gov, where'd it go? Sorry, I keep looking down here. I looked up to see if any Senate bills are made to be non-reversible ever. And this is what I came up with. A Senate bill cannot be made permanent, irreversible, or unchangeable after it becomes law. Laws can be repealed or amended by Congress in the future. So why wouldn't this bill be not allowed to be amended or changed in the future? That part I don't understand. I think people are just getting way over their feet, over their head, whatever you say. They're just getting too excited over something that's really a tailpipe dream. Who knows? That's just my take on it. It would be awesome if we had one full law that everybody could follow and pass, but we will see. And I will also be covering everything. I have full team coverage of this situation where we're checking congress.gov every day to see if this bill pops up, when it's going to go into Senate to be discussed. Hopefully we could go live when that does happen. I also looked up older Senate bills to see how long everything takes. So this guy started, what was his name? Bernie Moreno started talking about this in February of 25, around the 25th of February. Today is March 14th. It's Pi Day, and it's also Steak and Head Day. Did you guys know that? Go look it up. Okay, so he started putting this story out and released his bill February 25th-ish. That's when the news story started to hit. As of right now, this bill has not made it into Congress at all as introduction or anything. And then after the bill gets into introduction or gets introduced into Senate, there's so many steps that it has to take to become law or to become the new rule. I'm trying to find the process real quick on here. Okay, so it gets introduced. The Senate will talk about it, they'll approve it, deny it. If it gets approved, it'll move on to the House. The House committee, they'll talk about it, figure everything out, they'll approve it or deny it, and then the Senate and the House will come up, talk about what they think should be different or whatnot, and then at that time, so that's called, what is that? Resolving differences. After the resolving differences, then it goes to the president. After the president signs it, it becomes law. So this is not a quick process. This isn't going to be done next month. It's not going to be done in 6 months. What happens a lot of the time when bills like this get introduced into the Senate is they just die during legislation because they never get done. So they have until, I think it's January 3rd of 2027. That's when the new Congress or the new Senate gets sworn in. They have up until then to take care of this bill. If this bill goes nowhere in that time, it expires. It just gets damn phone. It just pretty much gets released into the air. That's probably an alert on what we're talking about right now. So that's what happens a lot of time. And another thing that's making me not hold my breath on this situation is being a smog tech and following those rules and laws. So many bills have come up to where they're just pipe dreams, really. You have, let me get this out real quick. Sorry, I keep looking at my phone. Kind of rude to do, and that was an alert about that. So, in the past, we've had AB 210 that just died. AB 1972, it just died. AB 220, it just died. There's a ton of assembly bills or Senate bills here in California where people have tried to make cars exempt, like a 35-year rolling rule, a 25-year rolling rule, stuff like that. It just dies. People just talk about it. It's virtue signaling. Hopefully this is going to be a different one, but I just don't want you guys to run out and just get your panties in a bunch over something that just might not happen. So we just need to chill out, watch what it's as it comes, see as it comes, see what the new rules are. And what if the Congress and the Senate, everybody comes together and they say, you know what? We need to make the federal laws way more strict than they currently are and make that the blanket rule. That might happen. I doubt it will happen. It possibly won't, but it's a possibility. So you guys need to just consider everything that's out there, not just run out, start taking stuff off your vehicles, hoping that you're gonna pass smog. And then another way to look at all this, if this assembly bill, if this Senate bill does go through, gets signed into law, California could always make their own law saying that we still have these smog standards, and if you don't want to drive your vehicle, or if you want to drive your vehicle in California, you have to abide by this law. And then people are saying, well, the manufacturers aren't going to care. They'll just make cars for all the other states. Then here's the other problem. There's 17 states that currently follow California rules and laws when it comes to smog, the California Clean Air Act. They all follow our smogs. New York, there's a list of states, which I don't have right now, but there's 17 of them. If you want that list, comment below and I'll find it for you. I'll get it to you. So what if California makes that law and the manufacturers are like, well, we don't really care because we just want to sell cars in California. Well, that's fine and dandy. What if the other states say, you know what, we're going to follow California's rule and law? Now, the manufacturers aren't going to be able to sell the cars in 17 states total. And those 17 states are the most populated states that buy the cars, other than Texas and Florida. I don't think either one of them follow the California Clean Air standards. But are the vehicle manufacturers going to want to follow a rule or a law that is limited to who they can sell their vehicles to? Or if they follow the rules or laws of California, they can sell them to everybody? There's so many different ways to comprehend or just think about how this is all going to work out. So my whole thing is, I don't like to see everybody get all excited about all this, go spend a bunch of money, hyping up their cars, doing their cars, this and that, to come to find out that you do need to smog still, and nothing has changed. So slow down, you guys, take time. There are some already exemption laws. So I believe it's the classic car or the collector car smog exemption. If your vehicle is over 35 years old and you have historical plates on your vehicle, you could be exempt from smog. If you guys want more information about that, I'll make a video about that as well. The Jay Leno bill, I believe that's AB 712, that's coming up. A lot of people are getting excited about that, but there are some caveats about that smog law as well, that it'll be beneficial, but it sounds way better than it really is if you have a daily driver and if you don't want to go through a bunch of hoops to be able to get into that smog exemption. It's not like you're going to go be able to hype up your 1989 Camaro or whatever muscle car is cool in 89. You're probably going to have to still pass the smog to be able to get into the classic car smog exemption rule with the Leno law. And I'm going to make a video going over that very soon. This video is more towards the countrywide, the U.S. Senate laws. And then on top of that, that Senate law from Bernie Moreno, Lee Zeldin came up with a huge setback or rollback. I can't say setback, a rollback on smog rules and regs. So rules and regs can be changed from administration to administration with no problem, because they're rules and regs. They make their own rules and regs, and people got to abide by them. He released this huge statement with a bunch of rollbacks on smog laws. And I was looking through all that. There's a lot of them. There's a few of them, I think it was 31 things. Maybe 2 or 3 of them pertain to what might be vehicle rules and regs, and that's just greenhouse gas emissions being reduced. They're reducing they're reducing the limit that we want to cut down on greenhouse gases, which might make it to where vehicle manufacturers don't have to use DEF or other additives or smog emissions control device on vehicles, because they're not going to have to reduce greenhouse gases as much. But I was looking at all the rules and regs change from Lee Zeldin, and most of those rules and reg change looks like they're more towards industrial emission rules and regs, more so than vehicle rules and regs. I'm still looking through all that. I fix cars, I fix stuff. It's taking a lot for me to go understand about these rules and regs and how it pertains to vehicles. And it's something I really wasn't even thinking about getting interested in, but I've had so many people ask me about this that I've had to spend so much time educating myself on everything that has to do with all of these changes and how they might affect you and me. But again, I just don't want you guys to go out and just start modifying your vehicle and for a tailpipe dream that just might not come true. Give it time, you guys. Let's see how this plays out. I will keep monitoring everything. I'll be checking congress.gov every day to see if the, I forgot what Bernie was calling it. Transportation Freedom Act is what I'm going to be looking for. If the Transportation Freedom Act comes up anywhere on congress.gov, we're going to go live to watch the Senate talk about it. We'll go live and we'll watch the vote on it and see if it gets passed on to Congress. I think it was, the House. Moves on to the House. But we'll take everything into consideration, see how it all goes, and we will play it by ear rather than jumping on the bandwagon of like, everything is gone, it's all gone, go do whatever you want to do. You can't do that yet. So stay tuned, you guys. Like, subscribe, and share. After I get done filming this video, editing it up, I'm going to go over that AB 712 Leno's Law and maybe do some more direct videos on smog exemptions. Like I said, there's already a smog exemption law. It's either for historical smog exemption or for classic car smog exemption, to where you do an initial smog, you get a historical plate. If you could prove that it's been in a parade, a car show, something like that, and you have collector car insurance on the vehicle, you will no longer have to smog it. So I will go over that in another video as well, because the Leno law is very similar to the classic. What kind of law is that called? Actually, I did look it up before I got on here, trying to sound a little bit smarter than I am. It's actually called the collector car smog exemption, is what is currently in use already here in California. So the vehicle has to be at least 35 years old, period. And if you have all of the show requirements and the insurance requirements, that'll get you there. Or if the vehicle is 25 years old with a historical plate, that will get you qualified. And the vehicle could be also classified as a special interest vehicle. So one of those 3 things with the historical plate will get you into the collector car smog exemption. But I'll make a whole nother video over that too. Hopefully this was some type of entertaining. I know it was a ton of talking. I'll try to cut some stuff up, but stay tuned, like, subscribe, share. check out the video library for helpful maintenance videos. If you have questions, you have comments, you have any of that good stuff, leave them below, please. I will be doing my best to update all of these smog laws coming into effect and letting you know the process on them as they go. Thanks for checking out Scotty's Hobbies, and I will see you guys on the next hopefully helpful video.